Hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Hopefully, you had an amazing weekend. Congratulations to all of the Chief fans. They won the Super Bowl for the second time in a row. I know that Crispy Bomb probably doesn't have a voice, which is not why he's not here because, sometimes he just shows up. But yeah, great game. Looked a little one sided in the beginning, but, well, that's why you don't bet against Mahomes. But, folks, we have a great show. The next 90 minutes is going to be solid. Gamsley, Fuzzy, and myself are going to be breaking down some of the big stories that happened over the weekend. I was hoping for a update to the Xbox business, thingamajig that's supposed to happen. I really thought that was going to happen via Xbox Wire this morning. I kept checking. Nothing as of yet. 12:01, here it is. It's 9 a.m. in California time. I thought that we might have some sort of breaking news, but rest assured, whenever it does drop, however that's going to be, whenever that's going to be this week, we are going to be covering it live here on Double Barrel Gaming one way or another. And just a quick programming update. Wednesday is, of course, Valentine's Day. So what we're not going to be doing is the 7 p.m. version of Primetime Gaming. I'm taking the day off to spend the evening with Mrs. Boom. We're going to catch up with ourselves, have a nice dinner, watch a couple of films, and just chill for the evening. So we will not be having a Primetime Gaming proper Wednesday evening, but I'm going to be keeping my ear to the floor because if something drops midday or early morning on Wednesday, well, because I'm retired, I can pivot and adjust to potentially do something around 12 p.m. And of course, I will put that out there on the socials if I decide to do like an hour stream, whether it's with guests or it's just kind of just chilling by myself, kind of trying to break down the hot button news. Obviously, as we get closer to Wednesday, I will keep you folks updated. But again, program alert: no primetime gaming. We're gonna recognize the holiday and kind of just take the day off, so to speak. But I will be here should I need to do something midday, and I just might, just for shits and giggles. But folks, we're gonna be talking about some stuff that happened this weekend. Look, I'm going to say this. Gaming journalists, or at least the ones that I look for and have a tremendous amount of respect for, is, it's a smaller circle, right? Not all gaming journalists. Tip of the spear for me, Jess Corden, Windows Central, Tom Henderson, obviously of Inside Gaming, Tom Warren of The Verge, Paul Tassi. Again, I say this all the time. Paul, I love you. We don't always agree, brother, but I like your writing. I like when you put it out there. Forbes, obviously one of my favorite places to get news from is, of course, VGC. Andy Robinson runs that site. And of course, we look towards our peers. Idle Sloth being another tip of the spear, a content creator, even though it's only content on X, but he still is out there. Hazador Gaming, Peter Ovo. There are several that I look to kind of keep us updated and abreast with what is going on. But again, this is more stated towards like something like someone like Nate the Hate, which again, he doesn't know who I am. I know who Nate the Hate is. I've been watching this stuff for years. His original report has now been walked back by him personally. I do have what he said on Twitter. There's a matter of fact, there's a lot of things that have been walked back. Starfield, for instance, not going to PlayStation, apparently. Gears of War, I don't think that should go anyway, but okay. I'm just glad that there is some sort of like an understanding that some of these suggestions that happened last weekend, 7 days later, all over the weekend, have now crumbled. People are walking it back left, right, and center. Again, we saw a lot of people get upset. I wasn't like, visibly upset. It wasn't personally hurting me. I think why I was a bit concerned is because I built this brand specifically covering Xbox 3 days a week. So if Xbox takes a shit and everyone gets disenchanted with the brand, well, that hurts Mr. Boomstick. Those are my concerns. I care that certain IPs stay behind and be left for Xbox, but we will be getting into that as well. And the other story that we're going to be covering is the conversation with Phil Spencer and the town hall meeting that he had with employees of Xbox, who he had to come out and say, "Hey, folks, FYI, we're still making hardware. Don't worry, we're still here." We're going to get into that as well, but let's welcome in everybody. And again, this smaller panel, it's fine. Gamzee, welcome back, brother. Great to have you here. I know that when we get to you after we do the intros, you kind of want to just clarify some of the things that you were trying to get across last week, which he talked to me in the green room. Great points of contention. So I want him to kind of put that out there for everyone so he can get his points out into the ether. How you feeling, brother?
I feel good, man. Foam Stars was amazing
Oh
and the
yeah,
best
it
game
came and
ever.
went.
No, I'm kidding. No, I thank you for having me on every Monday. I'm super excited and I'm super excited about these topics. Let's get to it. Hi everybody. I'm Gansley.
Yes,
All
yes,
right, let's go.
absolutely, bro. Well, it's great to have you here. Fuzzy Belvedere, best bald head in the business. What's going on, dude? How you feeling?
So pretty. Such a pretty head.
I'm doing great. Glad to be here with you guys. Man, so many things to get into today. This weekend's been kind of wild, whether it's the Super Bowl or just gaming in general. It's been a fun weekend, but man, can't wait to talk about some of these topics. Looking forward to next week. That's my Super Bowl with Daytona 500. But
Indeed. Yes, that's the big one. Yeah, I saw a lot of people tweeting about that. Shout out to Sith Lord, who's a big NASCAR guy. He was like, "Yeah, this Super Bowl, but my Super Bowl is, of course, the 500, which is Daytona, and I mean that's I mean it doesn't get any bigger. I mean some of the places that they race are huge, but Daytona's special. Daytona's had a lot of really, really big races. So yeah, it's going to be interesting enough. But listen, folks, before we get into the two topics, I kind of want to give Gamzee the floor so he can kind of get his point across that he was unable to, to get out into the ether. So last week you were talking about there is something to be said about the games potentially going over to another console, and they're like you were explaining that gamers, we're impatient, right? We don't want to wait for anything that might work to Xbox's favor. Talk about it, brother.
Oh yeah. So just to clarify, I'm gonna make this super quick. I love Xbox. I hope Xbox stays here, and they will stay here. If the reports mean anything. All I was trying to get across is that the games will start to speak, right?
Mm-hmm.
For the same reasons why we go out and we say that if all these games start to hit, all these games start to get 90s and whatever, for it'll start to like grow the console, right? Or that's the speculation, right? Boom, is that if all these games hit, the consoles will be healthy and grow. For that same reason is why I think the stagnation or the stagnated third-party releases or whatever will grow the console. It's just a more long-term thing, and that's what I was just trying to say. Like FOMO, the whole selling point will become like, well, look at maybe Indiana Jones will get a 90. Okay, the next Indiana Jones 2 on the next console is going to be a 90, or we assume it's going to be a 90. That's the selling point. While PlayStation players have to buy every single title,
Yep.
the titles will be available in Game Pass and playable on Xbox, and becomes a big value proposition for double dippers and people that have multiple consoles and so on and so on. So if all these games start to really shine, the like 90, like 70% of players that are casual and didn't even buy an Xbox yet will go to go to a store and try to buy a console, and they're going to start selling you Xboxes on pure mind share and pure like make the game speak for themselves. Like those PlayStation players at some point are going to be like, oh my god, that next game, 4 games a quarter are going to start coming out, and people are going to start to realize that all these things are bangers. and for that same reason are going to start pushing you towards a Game Pass subscribe to subscribe to Game Pass on a PC you might have, a phone you might have, or the value proposition of a console. And
Right.
that's all I was trying to get at, is that the console will not go away because it's just it'll grow slowly with time as these games, these massive games start to plop down and you can't ignore it anymore. That's what I was trying to get across, and I hope that kind of makes sense.
It absolutely
Also,
makes sense. Yeah.
if it was up to me, I want to clarify, if it was up to me, I go scorched earth and I would put every Call of Duty on Xbox only and do it that way. But sadly, we have regulatory bodies that will not allow that to happen. And, Xbox has to find another way to grow above console gamers, and this is how you do it. But the byproduct of growing above consoles, going everywhere, is that the console still stays and grows steadily. Like, that's part of it. That's always gonna be part of it, because the value proposition at one point will be just so impossible to ignore that people that are hopping onto this generation when they were in last generation will be like, yeah, why not get an Xbox? If I like Xbox games, if I'm an Xbox guy, why not get an Xbox the next generation? Anyway, that's where I
No,
want to stop because I don't want to go over and over.
no. Thank you for the clarification. Makes perfect sense. I think you're onto something regarding, once and that's what a lot of us were saying. They meaning Xbox has to give these games a chance to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
You got to let people get jealous a little bit about, this platform has this game, and yeah, sure, you can get it on PC, but you can't get it on PlayStation and you can't get it on Nintendo. So if you want that experience, well, then you can either play on your $5,000 rig that most PlayStation gamers say that they have, or you buy an Xbox. Now, what is it? What is that Xbox? Is that Xbox Series X, S, or are we talking about the next one? Well, we will see. We're going to get into that as well. But thank you so much for the clarification. Let me just get over to the chat. We got 3 super chats here. Well, actually 2 super chats. And of course, Highlander 001. Gee whiz, dude. He gifts another 5 double barrel gaming memberships. That is incredibly kind of you, sir. You continue to bless us with this kind of support. And we are incredibly grateful for it. Andre Doyle drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, "What's up, y'all? Amazing game and movie trailers. Yeah, dude, that Deadpool and Wolverine trailer looks good." Now I watch Josh from the Den of Nerds. He's a pretty sized YouTuber. And I watch him, and of course Charlie from Emergency Awesome. That dude's got like almost 5 million subscribers. I love Charlie. He's a good dude. Those are my 2 go-to when it comes to the Marvel DC comic nerd news. If you're not subscribed to them, you definitely should check that out. Michael Mooney drops a very generous £5 super chat and says, "Hats off to a certain confectionery company for summing the Xbox community last night. LOL." Yeah, I think I know what you mean, Michael. But yeah, I mean, look, it's fine. Be an Xbox fan, be a PlayStation fan, like them all like I do. I mean, like, I'm having a great time with Helldivers, even though all day yesterday I couldn't get in because the servers were nerfed. It's a
Oh
little
man, they're
annoying,
bad.
but
They're so bad.
Helldivers is so much fun, and I play with
Mhm.
randos. I can't wait to play with like the Pong Souls and Steel Rains of the world, where they can kind of. I'm only level 6, but it's a fun game, and it's hard as hell, but it's fun.
Yeah.
JD Gamer drops a very generous $5 super chat. He says Microsoft isn't giving up billions of dollars in 30% fees that they got every time a third-party game is sold on the console, so don't expect that to happen. Yeah, see, that's the other
Mhm.
thing. I'm glad JD
Yep.
brings that up. That's a phenomenal point. I think that really does make the most sense, because think about this for a second, folks. They put games on PlayStation, they put them on Steam, they put them on Nintendo. They're getting 70%, which is great. But wouldn't they want 100%? Right? Like of like full profit? And the way you do that is you have your own console, your own hardware. And whenever you put out a game, you're not licensing anything. You're literally just putting it on your hardware because you own it. and you're getting 100% of that monies. So it makes no sense for them to get out of the hardware business. As a matter of fact, let's get right to that story. Fuzzy, I'm going to do you first on this. Again, this story comes to us, Forbes.com, written by who I just talked about moments ago, Paul Tassi. And the headline here is Phil Spencer promises employees they won't stop making Xbox consoles. I find that to be a little strange he had to actually clarify that, but okay, let's go with it. He says this in the story, reading verbatim from the report. In the wake of swirling rumors about large changes coming to Microsoft's Xbox business with an official announcement next week, meaning this week, it seems that there is already some internal damage control to be done. Journalist Shannon Liao, Liao, reports that there was a town hall at Xbox this past Tuesday in which Phil Spencer, head of Microsoft Gaming, assured employees that they were not getting out of the console hardware market and would continue to make Xboxes going forward. Xbox strategy continues to employ multiple kinds of devices, he said. Now, the article goes on to say, the purpose of the announcement next week seems to be to introduce this philosophy, but it seems unlikely Microsoft will actually do this with all of its games. The ones that seem almost certain are Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, but recently a rumor about Starfield, which of course we're going to get into, that has now been debunked. And also the other rumors remain about Indiana Jones and Gears of War being in consideration for multi-platform releases. And I think that both of those also are off the table. Fuzzy, look, the fact that they had to have a town hall meeting tells me that once again, Xbox has failed in their messaging. If there is one thing that annoys the F out of me with Microsoft and specifically Xbox is the lack of judgment, the lack of direction, the lack of understanding where you effed up before. Like, I don't understand, folks, how the hell we continue to get here when they have made this mistake more times than I have hands and toes to count on. Like, it is crazy to me. Yeah, well, I mean, there you go. It's to me, it is just, how do we get here? How do you continue to step on these rakes when, again, I've heard this by many Xbox players, and listen, I'm not being a D, right? Like, I'm being forthcoming. I'm being transparent. I'm being honest. As an Xbox-centric channel, yes, we do have some multi-plat shows, but we're mostly Xbox guys and gals here, right? It's fine. It's great. The rake stepping that continues to go on, Fuzzy, is frustrating. Yeah. And I'll say this in defense of Xbox, you can't respond to every rumor that True. Nate the Hate puts out there, or you get in from like an Xbox Era, who is a phenomenal news site. Obviously, there are peers, right? The Xbox Era with John, with Special Nick, amazing, great people over there. Jesse Norris, their reviewer, phenomenal, great human being. They reported on something. People started throwing the spears at them. Don't do that. They reported on what they got on a tip. It's not happening. Okay, so we can take a breath of fresh air. My point is this, Fuzzy. Okay, so he has a town hall meeting, right? Mm-hmm. Consoles aren't going anywhere. We already kind of knew that based on the leaks. Yeah. We already know, and it's just thanks to, not for me, I don't have a connection as big as Mag, but Middle Age Game Guy came on last week's primetime and was like, hey, update, folks. There are 2 new consoles. One is going to be a portable. One's going to be the big boy under the box, underneath the TV. Don't worry, your consoles are safe. But with that said, coming from Mag, obviously, some people had some questions. Why the rake stepping, dude? Like, I don't get it, man. I'm so frustrated with them sometimes.
I think, at least from my experience with being in a corporate environment, sometimes being a big organization is a blessing and a curse. When you're in a big organization, not everybody is key to the direction of the company. They might have the overall mission statement understood, but things are always fluid and can, change. So there could be certain individuals that were privy to a meeting where they discussed maybe a few options or alternate routes that they were looking at because certain numbers weren't met before or certain goals weren't reached. And usually, like, whenever you have goal meetings, there's kind of like a plan B and possibly a plan C, D, and E that are discussed in that occasion. And then when those goals aren't met and you're at that time where you have to change direction or possibly adjust things, some people might not be on board. Some people might only hear half of the on board and think that it's happening tomorrow when it might be 2 years out, 5 years out, or 10 years out. So some of their rake stepping is not just the communication with their customer base, but also within their walls. But then again, a organization or a company that big, you can't always, have everything crystal clear to every employee. It's usually on like a need to know basis kind of thing. But in many cases, that doesn't always stay the case. Like somebody might talk to one of their friends at lunch, or somebody that's working remote that they thought should be aware of this might get an email or a phone call or something like that. So they're going to step on rakes. Just it's the nature of being a big corporation in general. But like when you compare it to like Sony and PlayStation and Nintendo, they step on rakes too. It's just that maybe not on as big of a scale, but then again, they're not on the same scale as Microsoft. So it comes with the size of the company. But outside of that, I think it shows that there is a little bit of an internal struggle. I don't know if, and I use I guess the accounting team. I've always referred to them as bean counters.
Yeah,
But
me too. Yeah, for
if,
fun, it's
if
the bean counters that want everything everywhere because they don't see the forest from the trees when
yeah,
it comes to the fan base.
right, they're not part of gaming. They just look at numbers and profit and shareholders and things like that. That's all they care about. The Xbox team themselves understand the fan base, but sometimes their hands are kind of tied. Like if the person that's signing everybody's check, Satya, says something, you only have but so much wiggle room that you can either talk them down from it or just suck it up and drive on, kind of thing. So I think part of that town hall meeting was because of the internal struggle. Like that rumor stuff got out of hand, and there was a lot of, like, it almost seemed like there was one upmanship between news journalists or content creators as far as, oh, I heard this, well, I heard that, and things from 5 years ago that probably were dead on arrival back 5 years ago were brought up, like Jeff Grubb bringing up Sea of Thieves. Like, if that was 3 years ago, how does that necessarily pertain to what Nate the Hate was saying now? Like, all of this stuff seemed to just spur out of control. And yes, we look at Microsoft and say, hey, they probably should have responded, but to respond to everything, like the batteries in a controller, the Series S being a potato. I mean, there's so many things that I'm pretty sure would love to respond to, but whether it's just the time and effort to have the marketing focus on all that stuff, like even Stein said it would take a lot of resources and it'd be exhausting to answer every possible rumor. Like now we have the stuff about the chipset, which, well, not just the chipset, but the Surface Group versus Jason Ronald and stuff like that. Which Jason Ronald being promoted to VP, if the Surface Group is helping with that, or if this portable might fall under the Surface Group, it's still going to be some of his internals, and the Surface Group would be focused on the packaging. So there could be a cooperative effort made. It's just that he might be the one that gets the final say on the specs, provided it's within budget, and Surface just has to package it accordingly and things like that. So you have that stuff. And then you have the whole Intel chipset. Should they go Intel? Should they, stay with AMD?
Do they go ARM? Do they go AMD? Yeah. There's a lot of choices to be made there.
I mean, and everything can be even said with like the Nintendo Switch. I'm assuming it's still going to be NVIDIA from rumors and things like that. But will Nintendo go for the big boy, tech, or will they, just do more of that, like people believe, more of an incremental bump where DLSS might be a help, but it won't be like on current day cards or even previous gen cards, capabilities and things. So there's so many moving parts. And I think having that town hall meeting is to make sure that Rome isn't burning to the employees that have to sit at the desk, because nothing's worse than hearing rumors of possibly your department going away. And typically, if you're in that type of industry, the tech industry in general, when you start hearing rumors like that, you're putting your resume elsewhere. So to hang on to talent before anything even happens or even anything is announced, the best thing to do is to put your employees at ease so they don't leave. I guess that would be the priority internally, and then externally will be to calm the customer base as well. But we'll see when that actually lands, whether it's the beginning of this week, the middle of this week, or the end of this week. I kind of thought it would probably be the end of this week, just because Friday is typically the day for bad news, and let's see if it's a Friday delivery kind of thing. I know a lot of people, based on his tweet, assumed it would be today kind of deal, but I always assume that maybe it's Friday, just because people already have a bad taste in their mouth just from the rumors. We'll see how it pans out. But having that town hall meeting, I think it's to maintain talent, to show that whatever internal struggle is going on, because you have to realize there was somebody inside the house making the phone call to other people, or leaking this information out, possibly intentionally, to bring this internal struggle to the forefront, so that way maybe the higher ups could adjust things or whatever the case may be. But I think his town hall meeting is just more so to make sure everybody is retained, nobody's jumping ship before there's even a sight of an iceberg or anything like that type of deal. But it does suck that they seem to step on rakes repeatedly, but I don't think it's as much that they step on rakes repeatedly as it is the gaming media has a hyper focus on everything they do. So even the smallest thing seems like a rake, as opposed to something like when Crunchyroll and Funimation, that should be more of a hyper focus, but it's not mainstream as far as the gaming media is concerned. So it doesn't really get seen as much, and it doesn't become this.
Doesn't
It's
get
also
this clicks.
anti-Sony.
We talk about digital ownership and stuff.
God forbid they should come out against Sony by any way or shape or form. They'll just get blacklisted. So that's why they like cowards. They stay quiet.
Yes. Yeah, and I've noticed even with the Helldivers 2 thing, like there's no like in review number preview, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
No.
There's a lot of things, even with Helldivers. I'm enjoying the heck out of it as well. But
me too. It's a lot of fun.
The server thing, like the games as a service is bad when it's any other game but a PlayStation game.
Indeed.
I mean, we'll see if that continues, but it just feels weird that the gaming media has this hyper focus on everything Xbox does. Xbox can fart, and it's like they're polluting the air, and if Sony did it, it's like, oh, they're helping the environment. It's like, what are we doing here? But
pretty ridiculous.
But we'll see when Phil makes the final announcement or this business update announcement. But the town hall, I think, was more so to make sure people aren't abandoning ship over a rumor that might even be rampant inside their walls. I think it's kind of to put things at rest, at least for the employee base for now, and hopefully he takes care of the customer base this week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we don't know when, and again, I'm going to sit here and be saying I was part of the problem, because I assumed, which you really shouldn't do that, it was going to be today based on the wording. I didn't think they were going to wait, and again, we don't know. I mean, it's only 12:30. It could release today, could release tomorrow, could be Wednesday for all we know. Who knows at this point? But Gamsley, let's bring you in on the conversation. Obviously, the town hall meeting needed to be done because there was confusion. There was confusion. I mean, obviously, if there's confusion out in the masses of the public, meaning us, the consumers, some of the employees are going to need some clarifications, because I'm sure that they're reading, they're hearing. I would imagine if you work for Xbox, you probably are a gamer. Why would you want to work there otherwise? So I'm sure that they're reading the tabloids. I'm sure that they're reading the conversations that people are having online. Hell, they may be having those conversations themselves. Good idea to have the town hall meeting. Again, we don't have the full breakdown of what it was. We do have the fact that he assured the employees that Xbox is going to have a machine. Obviously, they are currently working to have multiple machines, according to the report. Good, bad, or otherwise. What do you think?
Yeah, oh, man. First off, I'm really excited. So they're trying to expand, right? That's what we've been talking about. They're really trying to expand and trying to reach as many people. That usually to me is like a good sign. And I know that we're in a very iffy place, and we like to think that they're gonna go away and stuff like that for some reason. But I think this is all good news on the front of like, look, the Surface team, the Surface line isn't as good as they expected, right? They didn't see healthy growth in that segment, and it's just like, well, if you have the teams and you have a growth, so you have your consoles or your Xbox side growing, you want to take your talent and try to aim them there. And Fuzzy, your beautiful head, said it best. I I think it's a good thing, like that the Surface team is being involved with making hardware. They do some good work. Their software team needs a little bit of adjustment, but like, who else is going to make a portable more like who else is going to have the insight to make Windows shrinkable into a coherent experience in a handheld more than the Surface team, right? That's what they do. They do Windows, they do that sort of stuff. So combining the two efforts is a good thing to me, and I don't see why or how it's a bad thing at all. So good on that front. Do you agree or no?
No, I do.
Okay,
I think that
okay, cool.
there's definitely something to be said about if someone's going to make a shrink down version. I mean, again,
Hmm.
and I think we saw a story that was dropped. I don't have it in front of me. I'd have to pull it up, but that AI is going to play a big part
Yeah.
in graphics. That makes perfect
Uh-huh.
sense, which is why they spent so much investment into OpenAI, and why
Mhm.
it's becoming a big part of what they're probably going to do in the future.
Yeah, and that's exciting to me. And like Fuzzy said, it's the packaging and all that stuff. It just makes sense if you're going to double down on Xbox, which I think they have doubled down on Xbox. And I know, I certainly think they know that that's going to grow a lot, and to reach more people, you got to put your foot forward. So when you start hearing these rumors and they start to make it to the top, which good on you guys, good on everybody in the chat and the sane reasonable people that don't yell in spaces. I'm
Yes.
just gonna call them space because those spaces do nothing. By the way, they pop in, they pop out, and they don't listen to you. But the the people that have a calm mind and really are pushing the narrative, and the outlets that did try to be like, hey, look, this is a bad idea, here's why. Jez Corden gets a little bit in his feelings a lot, but he put out that article because it reaches the top, and it reaches the top because of us, right? Like, we are the fans. He's a fan. We want to push the bad narrative because we don't want that thing to happen. We don't want exclusives on PlayStation, etc., etc. So they try to speak as loud as possible. So good on you guys for making it up there. They hear you. I don't think it was ever a thing, but yeah, if you're Phil Spencer and you get word that like this like crazy doomsday is coming, and it's not, you got to get out there and be like, hey, look what we're doing. This is what we're doing. Don't stress. We're in the hardware business. I don't think there's anything we're telling them to be like, to talk. Well, that's exactly what he's doing. He's trying to reassure his team um to stay calm, and we're fine. And that's what he did. And when it comes to us as the consumers, we're not supposed to know any of this exists. So that is always terrible for messaging and terrible for a corporation, and terrible for people like Insomniac that now has their whole freaking roadmap out in the open, and people could criticize and do whatever they want with it and spread rumors. Like, it did hurt The Last of Us 2, did it not? Right? The rumors of Last
Indeed.
of Us 2 and the leaks of Last of Us 2 ruined the hell out of that game, got everybody angry that they didn't even buy the game, by the way. It's just that's how rumors work and leaks work. It's really bad for you, and they're trying to get ahead of it, and we're going to find out very shortly. what's going to happen. And I believe that it's going to be case by case. That might not be good for you, but Microsoft wants to grow and you have to do that. And the reason why Nintendo doesn't do that and Sony doesn't do that is because they can't do that. They can't afford to have something like a Game Pass that's a juggernaut and bleeds money and gets into your mind and could control you like that. They don't have the money to do that. They have to stick to the old ways. They have to stick to the let's sell out of cart, blah, blah, blah. They can't afford that. They can't compete with that. Microsoft right now is making their own lane and they see growth, right? They see it. Phil Spencer himself said in interviews, it's like Nintendo doesn't even know, like they're hesitant to get out of their comfort zone, but it's going to happen. And right now, Microsoft's ahead. So Microsoft is doing all of this preemptively. They know what's coming, or we like to think they know what's coming. And the other two are going to be really late to the party when that mind share starts to spread like wildfire. You know, when we start to associate every Call of Duty game with Xbox, and we start to associate all like 4 games a quarter. Some might be 90s, some might be 80s, but all these games are going to hit and land and whatever. When that starts to happen, everybody else is going to be in the back seat being like, shit, we have to expand the PC. We have to expand the PC to compete and grow. We have to expand to other places. They're never going to, maybe they will be reluctant to go to, you know, PC handhelds because that's going to also be associated with Xbox. Maybe they're going to be, you know, hesitant to go into Xbox ecosystems, but they're going to have to grow or die very slowly. And Xbox knows that. So don't worry your pretty little heads, boys. Xbox is going to win. Don't worry, just in another way and in their own lane. And that's good for us. We get to play really good games.
And at an affordable price. A perfect example
Exactly.
of what Gamsley's talking about is look what happened on Steam over the weekend. We saw a game that released on PlayStation at the same time of Steam, and that of Helldivers 2. And you know what's crazy? We have learned that more people are playing Helldivers 2 and exclusive on Steam than they're playing on PlayStation 5. I'm playing on PlayStation 5 because I don't have a PC to run it, and even if I did, I wouldn't use it. I'm a console gaming kind of a guy, so I'm always going to play on console versus PC. Even if I had a $5,000 rig, it'd be sitting here collecting dust. I mean, great points all around from both Gamsley and of course Fuzzy. Let me catch up on some of these super chats in here, and then we will talk about some of the conversations happening with the gaming's media this weekend, specifically kind of power focused on Nate the Hate, who had a lot to say on the socials. I see some people out here, talking about Xbox era not walking it back. That's right. They did get out there and say they're not walking back the Starfield report because they got it from someone they trust. Okay, great. You know, maybe that's going to happen. Maybe it's not going to happen. But we'll get into all of that moment in moments. JD Gamer drops an additional $5 super chat. And he says, interesting thought. What if the big play was creating another tier to Game Pass or curating it in a way that changes day and date exclusives or ABK games? I mean, my thought is this. Too many tiers or too many chefs ruin the soup. I think too many tiers would be too confusing. I like what they have. I don't think that there is a world where they can, in fact, walk back day and date for anything. The way that we have been conditioned as Xbox Game Pass subscribers is that if it's first party, it's in their day and date. That is what we have been taught. That is the preachings, if you will. They're not trying to be facetious here, but that is what they have been telling us as consumers since the inception. And mind you, Game Pass wasn't day and date until 2018. It launched in 2017, and then they realized, hey, we have something here. If we can offer day and date of our stuff, it makes. I mean, look, I'm not a business analyst, folks. What the heck do I know? But in my personal opinion, what makes more sense to you? Paying the $70 for an Xbox games and you get your one sale. Boom, there's your $76.43 if you buy it here in New Rochelle, New York. Great. Awesome. You bought a game. Or said gamer, well, let's say the casual market. How many games does the casual market buy per year, would you think? What, 2, 3? On a great year when they have a PlayStation, they're buying a Spider-Man, a GTA, a 2K, right? A Madden, and what, 3 or Call of Duty. So they buy 3 games. 3 games, $180, right? For or I'm sorry, 210, $70 a game. $210. What makes more sense? And if you are a gamer that understands that budgets are a thing for you personally, not everyone falls into the same bracket, but I've said this before, why I find Game Pass so fascinating is that regardless of your financial station, you can afford to be in that. Versus buying your kids every game that comes out. Like, say you're a parent, whether you're a single parent or you have your husband, the wife, whatever, working. Games are expensive, and one of the first things we know that has to go is entertainment. So, what makes more sense for a gamer or a parent that's going to buy games for their kids? Do I get them this Game Pass thing that's $16.99 a month, and they get all these games and they're happy, versus buying 2 or 3 games a year, right? So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see where these things go. I hope, JD Gamer, that they do not try. I don't think they're going to. I don't think there's going to be a walk back in day and date. I don't. And in regards to another tier, I mean, I guess it's possible. Maybe there is a lower tier for not day and date in 6 months. I don't think they really need to do that. I think if they add too many tiers, it's going to be confusing as all hell, at least in my opinion. Ultron Quake drops a very generous $2 super chat, and he says, "What's that game on the screen? It looks great." This is Motorfest from Ubisoft. Very Horizon-like. Now, is it better than Horizon? The answer is no, it is not. But it is a good racer. And, well, it was in my subscription, so I didn't have to pay for it. I'm paying $18 a month, whatever it is, and I think I've gotten my worth out of Ubisoft Plus. I quite like it. We have here Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat, and he says this: "I like Xbox talks to us, and I hope that all of these leaks and fan behavior don't make Xbox silent in the future. Fan reactions may make Xbox cautious." That's an interesting thought and theory. I've seen several people actually say, the backlash, and it was on a lot of levels, folks. I mean, a perfect example of someone that was, listen, he feels how he feels. He ain't wrong. Talking about Tim Dog. Tim Dog is an Xbox dude through and through. And whether you agree with Tim's take or you disagree with Tim's take, that is what fandom looks like. Now, you can call him an extremist, you can call him an extreme fan, whatever you want to call him, fine. But that is a diehard Xbox fan. Same thing with Clobriel. Clobriel was so pissed off. The guy was like, you know what? I'm gonna retire my branding. I'm not even gonna be bothered anymore because I do all this extra work for Xbox. I don't get paid for it, and they're treating me like a second-class citizen. Now, he didn't say that. I'm just paraphrasing how he obviously wanted to take a step back from what he does. And what Clobriel does in the community, Xbox community specifically, is phenomenal work, right? Like, who doesn't like Clobriel? He actually followed me last year. Holy shit, that's crazy. And I'm proud of that. But thankfully, he's not going anywhere, so that's good news. And so is Tim Dog. Tim Dog is not going anywhere either. He put out a reflections tweet. You should definitely go check it out. Whether you like it or you dislike it, it's entirely up to you. I want to go right back to Fuzzy. Fuzzy, I have some tweets in front of me here. Now, there were a lot of conversation with different journalists, different outlets, Xbox Era being one of them. Xbox Era came out and said, "Hey, folks, listen, we're not walking back shit," as they should. If they trust their source, which they came out and said they do, then they shouldn't have to walk it back. Now, whether it happens or it doesn't, meaning Starfield goes to PlayStation, I have no idea. Now, we do have some information from Nate the Hate that that's not happening, but we also have some conversation with Tom Henderson and Nate the Hate. So I want to take a few minutes to kind of just read through the tweets, because you know how I feel about this stuff. I like bringing these conversations into what we do here, because obviously it is evidence based, right? Yeah, I'm not shooting from the hip and making this stuff up. I'm reading you what's out there on the social. So I have here. Okay, now this is Nate the Hate. He says this, Fuzzy. I can only speak for myself concerning Starfield, but info on my side doesn't support the reports of Starfield being destined for PlayStation 5. Was it considered? Perhaps. I don't have any insight on that matter. So Tom Henderson actually responds to him and says, and obviously Tom Henderson was out there reporting this. He says, genuinely curious on what the info on your side entails, because going from absolute confidence to denial in 5 days must be significant. And whichever way it lands, there has to be some questions in regards to your sourcing and what you consider appropriate to report. So Nate responds with this, and he says, saw the report and reacted, as I had been hearing similar from a couple of reliable contacts. It wasn't something I was going to touch until I had a better window on release timing, and that's how I should have kept it. Okay, so now we have some more here. This is from Tom Henderson responding. He says, make of this what you will, but speaking with a few folk over there, they, in parentheses, Xbox, was very surprised at the extent of the rumors, because nothing was set in stone apart from Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, from what I have gathered. He goes on to say this, folks. Honestly sounds like, for the most part, it has been a prime example of Chinese whisperers, which I don't even know what he means by that, or people just making shit up to capitalize off the hysteria. It will be interesting to see what is said, because these rumors seem to be fueling decisions that might need more time in the oven, so to speak. I mean, let's see what. Well, let me bring up Iron Claw Gaming on Twitter or X. And obviously he also had this clipped, the first conversation between Nate the Hate and Tom Henderson, and he says, what this teaches us is that there are no reliable sources of information for Xbox news outside of Xbox. If you see anything that isn't posted by Xbox, it's definitely a scam posted by bad faith actors. I mean, a perfect example, and I appreciate Iron Claw Gaming. I follow him; he follows me. I don't necessarily believe that statement fully, only because I know the middle-aged game guy who does have, in fact, a source. Obviously, he on XNC, which is the show with Colt Eastwood on Mondays, had a lot to say. Then he came back with a bit of an update for Primetime Gaming last Wednesday, where he confirmed that not only were there 2 hardware specs that they're currently working on. One is a portable, very Switch-like, and of course the box underneath the TV. But he also confirmed, which I did not know, is that there is these consoles are going to be digital only, and for anyone that wants to play their games, supposedly according to Mag's source, there is going to be an external drive that you plug in, giving you the ability to play your discs. Again, I trust Mag. He doesn't blow smoke up anyone's ass, and he trusts his source. So even though I appreciate Iron Claw Gaming, I understand that some things you want confirmation from Xbox, as you should, but then sometimes things do leak, and I can't say who Xbox ever talked to. Hell, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I don't know him personally, Nate the Hate, but he's pretty reliable. And some of the reporters that I talked about that are my go-to guys, like a Tom Henderson, when they kind of report something, I mean, I don't take it as gospel. I take everything with a grain of salt. But if they're reporting it, I'd like to believe that they are onto something or they have connections. So this thing got all gummed up, Fuzzy.
Yeah.
Lot of walkbacks since this thing broke last Saturday to this Saturday, 7 days of complete madness. One of the things that I found to be sad, you know me, folks, I'm all about peace, love, and happiness, right? I'm all about that Yobi life. Yobi, I love you, brother. I know you're in the chat. Peace, life, love, right? I'm all about that life. Some of the fighting that went on between Xbox players, it was hard to watch, folks. I'm going to be honest with you. No names. We don't name names here. Hard to watch, hard to read. I kind of put the phone down. I just couldn't take it much more. Like, I'm here 5 days a week for you guys and gals, and I love it. And that will never change. But some of the stuff, man, it was tough to read, honestly. Let's get your take on these walkbacks, man. I know that we are seeing from multiple sources that Xbox was a bit taken aback by these rumors spiraling out of control. It went from 2 games to freaking the kitchen sink and everything that hasn't even been announced yet.
Yeah.
What I mean, again, conversational podcast, go crazy with this one. This is the meaty one, folks. This is what you've been waiting for. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll start off with something I said shortly after the Dev Direct, or maybe it was just before the Dev Direct. I said there's probably going to be a FUD storm brewing.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where whenever there's good Xbox news, there's always some sort of counter. Now, Sony used to be good at being the counter. Xbox releases a game, Sony talks about, oh, we got this game exclusive now, or we're going to release this game that's not a remaster to kind of squash the Xbox news to some extent. Or, oh, Xbox, we sold 1 million copies of this game, and then PlayStation be like, we sold 120 million consoles. They always used to be good at trying to squash the news cycle for Xbox. And since they're kind of on their back foot at this point, it seems like the gaming media is kind of helping them by addressing narratives that, whether they're made up or partial truths, half truths, whatever, zero truths, whatever the case may be, it seems like these narratives go flying off the rails. And kind of like what we saw last week, a lot of it I felt was kind of like one-upmanship. Like, oh, you got a scoop. Well, I have an even bigger scoop. And it's like there are certain things that should have, ticked off people's radar or set up red flags. Like when Halo and Gears start getting mentioned, that probably should have been like the end of listening to those individuals. Just because I can imagine even Satya knows better than that. Regardless of what the number guys in the business will say, oh, look at this flow chart and this pie chart here. I think even he would understand at least those are like sacred, never cross that type of line kind of thing. So a lot of the walk back, I think, was everybody getting caught up in the craziness. Like it was a developing story, just like when you see whether it's a hostage situation or you see a earthquake and stuff like that. Like you're glued to the TV, or most of us were glued to our phones, just seeing it unfold or unravel right in front of us. So I think a lot of this walk back has to do with people kind of getting caught up in the moment. And it got to the point where I think almost anything seemed believable if it came from certain individuals. And some of their sources, I have very few sources in the know, but there are certain things that just seem like they didn't really make that much sense. As far as the Starfield aspect, I think some people forget to take timing into account. Was Starfield at one point considered to be on PlayStation? Yes, absolutely. In fact, PlayStation tried to get that as an exclusive, just like they did with Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. Although I think they were going for full exclusive as opposed to timed exclusive. But there was a time where there was a PlayStation development for that game. So it coming to PlayStation was on the to-do list at some point. Has that changed since the acquisition? I would think so. Have they re-looked at that situation? I have my doubts. Or if they did, it was like, hey, will this give us or put us in better favor with the FTC? And somebody was probably like, no, Lena Khan hates us no matter what we do. Let's not even go there. And that was probably the end of the conversation. So there are a lot of things that I think, and I remember this from when Jeff Grubb said that, Hi-Fi Rush didn't meet certain expectations. And I almost feel like Xbox at that point wanted to find out who his source was behind closed doors. So you noticed he was kind of quiet on Xbox stuff for a while because I have a feeling they were like, we're going to find this mole. And then maybe some of this stuff is part of that. Maybe we'll see somebody's LinkedIn changed here in the next week or two if it hasn't already. But I think that if some of these things were put out there, maybe it was to draw attention to, all right, who did we tell specifically that Gears would come over? Oh, it was, somebody on Team B and, in this building or over at this studio. All right, let's bring them in for a Friday meeting discussing their performance as of recent kind of thing. But a lot of this stuff, I think the walkbacks probably come from the fact that either their sources were fed false information or they forgot to do what typical or most journalists would do, at least ones that I grew up watching in the 80s and 90s and stuff, where you would have to verify between two separate sources. If you can't get corroboration between two separate sources, you don't report it. It doesn't even get mentioned. Once you have two sources, then it's mentioned as, well, this is a possibility, or it's presented as, well, this is what we're hearing. And then it doesn't become a mainstream story until you have like 5 or 6 verifiable sources. And that's something where you would have to verify with maybe 5 or 6 people within the walls of Xbox, not just somebody that knows somebody or is the uncle or cousin or the, third, brother-in-law removed kind of crap or whatever you want to call it, type of deal. So credibility, I just feel like when it comes to anything relating to Xbox, there's this fearlessness that what's Microsoft going to do to me if I get something wrong? But on the flip side of things, they know what's going to happen if it's Sony. They're going to be blackballed. They're not going to get review copies. They won't get, information on upcoming events or be able to attend upcoming events. They know if they get something wrong with Sony, Sony's going to retaliate or address it directly with that individual. Xbox, they don't do anything, or at least it doesn't seem that way. You say something wrong or get a story wrong that damages the brand, you're welcome to the cookout next week. Like maybe that's their flaw as far as trying to be open and welcoming. But yeah, a lot of the walk back I think was just some people making stuff up or some people adding on to what they already heard to make it more of an attractive story. Like what better way to get clicks on your site if you just mentioned Starfield, the game that they said was exclusive where Game Pass exists? Oh, well, it was considered. Well, yeah, it was considered before Xbox acquired them. I'll just throw that in there, but I won't address the fact that it was before Xbox acquired them. It was just that it was considered at some point. So now that's reportable, and they'll be like, oh well, I got it wrong. But I don't know. I knew something was going to come up, but I didn't think it was this because some of those sources did seem legit, but to the extent of how far it got, I can understand why Xbox was like, yeah, we were talking about maybe 1 or 2 titles and they got like 30 plus titles mixed into the whole mix. So yeah, I can understand Xbox being, kind of, taking a step back kind of thing. But, gaming media journalists should be held to the same, credentials and credibility as regular journalists. Although the mainstream media in general, I love them or hate them, even a lot of their actions are in question. So it almost feels like, media in general is making their own rules as they go, or doing things however they see fit, and damned be the rules and procedures or steps that they used to follow. Nowadays, it's like It's better to be first than to be right or to be accurate.
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, real quick, I want to address somebody in the chat here. Michael Squires says there was barely any walk back, so I don't know what y'all talking about. Brother, listen, I read verbatim the walk back. But because you're challenging the theory, let me read some more for you. And this was reported by Hazardor Gaming, one of my favorite places to get actual gaming news because he's amazing. Like I said, he's up there with the Peter Ovos. He's up there with the Idle Sloths. So I again, you're not following Hazardor Gaming. Let me break down this for you specifically, Michael. Tom Warren on the Indiana Jones rumors with Tom Henderson and Jeff Grubb with Gears of War rumor coming to other platforms. Well, let me read it for you because I'm all about evidence-based conversation. Tom Warren says this. If Microsoft hasn't been considering Indiana Jones for PlayStation 5, they could come out and say that, but they have. So they can't say that. The key is whether actually it happens, which I made super clear that it wasn't set in stone. Tom Henderson replies, "Well, I was going to say that unless I missed something. You both said that XYZ is being considered, aka not set in stone, referring to other weird rumors on the making shit up part." Well, I got more for you. He adds, "This is Jeff Grubb." And I guess he was responding to both Tom Henderson and Tom Warren, and Jeff said this, "And very much not set in stone. Just conversations about Gears of War. Like even the people having those conversations don't know what they're going to do." So you got to remember, folks, this was reported, and that is considered a walk back. I mean, do you want someone to actually come out and say it? Because I think I read it pretty clear of what exactly is happening. So these are conversations that apparently were had, whether or not they come to fruition, which I don't think they're going to. I think it's going to be a curated first-party lineup, potentially, again, Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves. I don't see a need or a world where a Gears of War that has been exclusive to a platform, or at least two platforms, needs to go to PlayStation. PlayStation gamers don't freaking buy their own first-party games. And, by the way, they don't play multiplayer.
Sorry, Boom.
Yes,
Sorry, Boom. Breaking
That's right.
news. Official Xbox podcast, February 15th, 2024, 12 p.m. PT, 3 p.m. ET, 8 p.m. GMT.
Nice.
So that's where they're going to talk about all the updates on Xbox business. And it's a podcast.
Yeah, well, it's the Xbox podcast. That's done with Jeff Rubenstein, and what is the female's name? She's pretty awesome. Oh my god, why am I drawing a blank? Yes, she actually XIGN employee, by the way.
Yeah, and Sarah Bond and Matt Booty are going to be there with Phil. So
there you go.
I don't know. This seems interesting. I like this. Can we talk about that? Is that a thing we talk about?
I mean, we certainly could. Obviously, that is breaking news. So thank you for the hot take. February 15th, which obviously is going to be Wednesday. And this is going to be done at 12 p.m. Pacific. I think we're going to try and cover that live here on this. We will tune into their podcast and watch it live, folks. I'll make the announcement. Again, I originally said that we might do something on Wednesday, depending on the information. Well, Gamsley, here it is. Here is the information. This comes directly. It comes directly. Thank you again for the hot breaking news update. And I'll read verbatim. Xbox, join us for a special edition of the official Xbox podcast. Hear from Phil Spencer, Sarah Bond, and Matt Booty as they share updates to the Xbox business. This is big. So you know what? I'm going to pivot from this walk back because, obviously this is breaking news. Gams, I'm going to go to you right immediately. But before we get to you, and before I forget, because I'm an old man, folks, I want to take a second to obviously throw it out there. As you know, we're a small YouTube channel. We're closing in on 15K. We're very, very careful about who we partner with. And we, again, like I say this all the time, we get a lot of offers per week. We don't act on those offers because if I'm not using the product, then I'm not going to try and sell you the product because I don't think that's right. That's not the way we do business here. But one product that we did decide to partner with last year, and that was the Valari gaming pillow. Now, normally, again, when they reached out to me, I'm like, does it actually work? So they challenged me, said, listen, can we send you a pillow? I said, all right. How bad or good could this thing be? We'll see. Well, if you didn't know, I am surgically repaired on my spinal cord. L4, L5, S1 fused. So there are days like today, kind of, it sucks because sometimes I can't get out of my own way. So one of the things that takes a hit is gaming because obviously you're sitting for long periods of time, you're hunched over, and your posture isn't the greatest. So days like that, gaming isn't that much fun. It's more painful than anything. So when they sent me the pillow, I tried it out and I'm like, holy shit, this thing actually works. And the pillow that I currently use is the one that was gifted to me by King David of the Iron Lords. It's an Iron Lord podcast branded pillow, which is dope. It's gold and black and it's got the gold trim. It's pretty dope. And we decided that we were going to, in fact, partner with them, and we have. And again, I'm not a cue card kind of a guy. I think it kind of loses a bit of what you're trying to sell. So I had a commercial made by Sean Labrie, very talented artist that has reformed this channel. And I have a 35-second commercial I like to run for you. And if you are interested, go the show notes have the link directly to the Valari gaming pillow. And if you decide to buy one, all you have to do is use DBG, short for Double Barrel Gaming 15 at checkout, and you'll save 15% off your entire order. So check it out, folks. Here you go. All right, and there is a commercial, folks. 35 seconds of your life. Hopefully you didn't tune out. We have over 1,000 people here, which is pretty dope. So thank you to the 1,000 people that have tuned into this live show. Obviously, the commercial is what it is. Again, we haven't partnered with anyone else. We're very, very particular about who we partner with because it took a long time to build a brand, and we're not going to whore the brand out. We're just not doing that. But these fine folks are a small mom and pop business, kind of like, well, Double Barrel Gaming. And again, because I use it personally when I game, and I can tell you that it works, that's why we're selling the pillow for them. Again, at checkout, use the code DBG15 at checkout, and you'll save 15% off of your entire order. Gams, let's go right to you, brother. Breaking news. This is great. We're not in the dark anymore. Happened, I believe it was at 1 p.m., which of course is 10 a.m. Pacific time, which is California time. I'm happy that we have information. One of the things I find for me, and I saw a lot of people talking about this, and I do want to bring this up before we bring you in and get your point. Some of the conversations that we had and some of the concerns I personally had was last year, before we closed out the year, Sarah Bond was promoted to the president of Xbox. One of the concerns that I personally had, and some of the conversations that I saw online that were a little gross for me, was blaming Sarah for this craziness when I never got that once. So I'm actually happy that the three people that are going to be there are, of course, Sarah. She's the president of Xbox. She should be there. But I think that it's even more important that Phil and Matt Booty are going to be there, because if any arrows are going to be flung, it should hit everyone. Now, we don't know what they're going to say. They're going to give us the business update. I'm going to be honest with you, Gamsley. I'm still a little weird about that. Like the terminology is a little perplexing. I've been covering Xbox for 6 years. I've never heard of a business update, but it's fine. I guess this is where they're going to tell us, what is going third party, what's staying first party. What are your thoughts on the confirmation that this Wednesday there's going to be this podcast with an explanation to all of us as gamers?
Okay, so it's a podcast format, so that's quite interesting. So there's going to probably be a lot of bounce of questions and bouncing off each other and talking realistically. I think this is like really nice. I I like that this is not like a corporate thing, because
Yes.
us as
Smart.
gamers were really scared of like them coming out and being all corporate and talking around in a circle. Being a podcast seems interesting to me because there's going to be, I would guess, bouncing, like real time bouncing and real emotions, and seeing some things slip maybe. So why not? I like that Sarah Bond's there. They wouldn't shoot her under the bus. Her being
Yes.
there suggests to me that it's not all going to be crazy news, right? Because she's going to be faced with it. I Booty being there and Phil being there, this is quite big because all the big arms are there, right? So surely we're gonna get some sort of, hey, these things are gonna go places and these things aren't. Because if I mean, it's hard to believe that everything is gonna go everywhere day and date, but we're about to find out. Let's go through some multiverses. Let's make it fun. Uh, if I can, I'm gonna ask Fuzzy. So, in your little multiverse of this podcast happening, what do they discuss and how do they discuss it?
Ooh, I was thinking about this for a little bit, and one of the things I think they talk about is the case by case basis stuff that they've brought up
Yes.
in the past. Um, and I think that will still hold true, but they're going to surprise us with something that might piss off some fans, and will
And what would
probably
that
get
be?
them some cheers at the same time. Hear me out. They're going
Yeah.
to the first case by case that they're going to do. And this is a long shot, but bear
Mhm.
with me. Certain Affinity has been working on a BR, a Halo BR. That's the one that
Oh.
goes everywhere. That's the one that they
Oh.
put out there to squash something like a Helldivers 2, possibly. We'll see. But
Okay.
I'm thinking in my multiverse, that's one of the things. Now, if my multiverse is bad news related, they give us the skinny on ABK and new titles come into Game Pass with a 6-month to 12-month delay.
Mm,
That would be like
the
more,
bad one.
lemons. I guess we could turn it into lemonade some sort of way, but that would be my lemon out of the announcement kind of thing. But I think overall they'll also discuss, upcoming hardware, the way that they want
Yeah.
this the ecosystem to expand. So for those that are, you know, in households with multi devices, whether it's an Xbox, a PC, a PlayStation, or Switch, you'll be able to play your games across all of them if you already have it on Xbox. Um, as far as your Xbox games, third party games, they probably won't have that ability to do that type of deal, obviously, because of it, licensing. But I think the other thing that they might kind of pseudo announce would be like the family plan in a weird way,
Mm,
where let's say, for example, you already bought Gears of War on your Xbox, or you're subscribed through Game Pass. Your kid has a Switch, wife has a PlayStation 5, you have your Xbox. All three of you can be in the same game at the same time with just the one copy or just your one subscription of Game Pass. That would be the carrot that kind of smooths things over a bit. But I think that would be the selling point. Or if your friends are already on PlayStation and have no, inkling of wanting to get an Xbox, but they sign up for, let's say, Game Pass or something like that, you send them a friend link, they can join your game via streaming on their PlayStation or via streaming on
mm.
their Switch. I think that would be kind of cool in a weird way, but I think that would be the pros, the cons being the ABK being the 6-month delay possibly, and then something that will probably be talked about for eons until its release would be, maybe that Halo BR being playable anywhere. Just a thought.
Cool stuff. It's really interesting that we talk about like the cross. We don't talk about that much, but PlayStation doesn't like cross play and cross
Well, they
saves and all
charge
that
for
stuff.
it. That's why. Yeah, they
Yeah,
actually charge for it, which is
yeah.
crummy.
They don't like that because they know the future is multi devices. They
Yeah.
know, but they want to lock you down, and that's why I also think that Xbox has a hand up because everybody wants crossplay to work. But once that crossplay works, people are gonna start being like, "Oh wow, okay, but I'm gonna buy the Xbox games and I'm gonna go to Game Pass and it's gonna play nice on my PlayStation or whatever." And they don't like that association. So, anyways,
Yeah.
can I get into like my little multiverse and can I do
Please,
that?
but go
Boom,
ahead
before
and
I ask you?
give us your hot take on it.
Okay, so in the good multiverse, we have exactly, you know, uh, we have basically what the structure is now. Okay, so we have the structure of Game Pass is our mission. Here, here are the games that are going to have Game Pass. Sorry, Xbox Studios games are going to be, exclusive forever. So we're going to have Gears of War's exclusive, Halo's exclusive, so on and so on. Maybe the multiplayer stuff goes somewhere else, but for the most part, those things close to the vest. And obviously, like they've said before, Sea of Thieves, again, multiplayer, Elder Scrolls multiplayer, all that goes other places just to grow awareness of set service. And then when it comes to Bethesda games, they're going to say those things are going to be 6 months to 2 years, depending on which titles. I would say stuff like Hi-Fi Rush and the the indie style feeling kind of stuff like Pentiment and all that stuff. Those things are going to go to other places 6 months later. Okay. The big things like Starfield and Indiana Jones, coming from Bethesda, those are going to go like 2 years. And they have to make it clear. They're going to 2 years down the line, you might see a Starfield on a PlayStation. But guess what? Day and date, Game Pass. That never changes. When it comes to ABK is going to be Call of Duty everywhere. The downside, Call of Duty is going to be not in Game Pass. That's the caveat that they're going to hit us
I mean,
with.
it's possible for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna probably hit us with that. That's my this multiverse that I'm talking about. So they're gonna come out, Call of Duty's everywhere, blah blah blah. We're gonna sell that a la carte. But everything else, Game Pass day one, same thing as Bethesda. Smaller titles, 6 months, go to other platforms. Bigger titles, a year to 2 years. That's what they're gonna say. They're also gonna go with, so that's going to be the message. Look, this is how we're going to expand. That's going to be the idea. Game Pass is never going to change day and date. PC, blah 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 blah. How they pad all of this, they're going to say, and guess what? We heard you. Hardware not going away. This is why. And they're going to give you that little roadmap of the Xbox Pro or whatever that's going to come out. They're going to give you that, and then they're going to circle that little handheld. They're going to be like, guess what? We have a little special thing. It's called a handheld. We're going into the handheld market. We believe that this is a good way to expand. Blah, blah, blah. There it is. And then at the end of it all, this is my heart. This is the oh fuck moment. They're going to say, you know what? And don't you worry. As for partnerships, that's what you're worried about. Square Enix is on board. Don't worry about it. They're actually going to be third-party buddies. Sega, Capcom, all that stuff. We have already talked to them. Contracts are being made. You can expect Square Enix games, Capcom games, Sega games, all coming to that freaking Xbox day and date. Don't worry about it. And then they're going to mic drop and walk away. That's my heart scenario. And that's my little multiverse.
No,
that's going to happen.
It's well thought out, Gamsley. Yeah, well thought out.
Which might not happen, but that's my little heart nugget, right at the end for the third party. If that happens, everybody's happy. It explodes. We're all good. Bad part.
Yeah.
Here's my bad multiverse. They say, well, guess what? day and date, Xbox not happening anymore, right? We're gonna go a la carte with Activision things, and everything else will stay exclusive, but you're gonna have to buy it or wait 6 months, and that's the bad side of things, which in my head in my head this doesn't make sense and it's so far out there that I don't even think it's possible. But
Right.
that's my bad scenario.
I mean, listen, well broken down from both Fuzzy and Gamsley. My quick thoughts before we read the last couple of super chats and we get everyone out of here, because folks, this is just a 90-minute show. I was under the impression, real quick, that it was going to be 12 p.m. ET. It's not. It's 12 p.m. Pacific time, meaning it would be 3 p.m. We're probably not going to cover it on this channel that day. We're probably going to watch it ourselves and react to it. Obviously, we have a Thursday show called X Vlog Live. That is at noon. I may come back in the evening, but I don't know. There's a lot of people that do shows on Thursdays, and I kind of don't want to step on anyone's toes. Obviously, PM and the PM, they're gonna be reacting to it. Obviously, maybe I can even jump on with them for a few. We'll see. But in regards to the channel covering it, we'll probably cover it that Thursday afternoon. And by then we'll have all of the articles, all of the opinions, all of the clarification. And I may just sit back and watch it as a fan. But we'll see. Well, I'll keep you fine folks updated. My thoughts and theories, and I want to give a shout out to Stuff Sean, not only because he dropped a very generous £2 super chat. This actually makes tremendous sense. He says his thought on how this podcast is going to go, and I think he's spot on, folks. He says Phil Spencer will be there to discuss strategy. Hardware will come the way of Sarabon, which makes, again, perfect sense. And gaming, or the games wise, is going to be Matt Booty is where he's going to speak. I think that is spot on, perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's how it should be broken down. Phil Spencer should give us his spiel, if you will, on the strategy of Xbox, confirming, denying, putting out the fires of what is going to be considered, what is he going to tell us, what are the sacred cows, what can't be touched. Is he going to come out and say straight up, listen, we read all the messages, we heard you, Gears of War not going anywhere, Forza not going anywhere, Halo not going anywhere. I think he actually needs to do that, to be honest with you, because there are certain games that are considered pillars of each platform. We know the Nintendos, we know the pillars of PlayStation, and I think it's safe to say that we know the pillars of Xbox. And these three happen to be some of the oldest standing ones that we own, right? As Xbox fans, you know that if you want to play these games, sure, you could play them on PC, but when you equate these titles with an Xbox, I don't think that should change. I think there is something to be said about certain other newer titles, like a Hellblade. Hellblade shouldn't go anywhere. That's going to be one of those genre-defining games. Wouldn't you want that associated with your brand? I mean, I would. Perfect Dark's another one. Fable is another one. That to me is a sacred cow, if you will, or a pillar. That should, if you want to play it, buy a freaking Xbox or go play on your rig. You shouldn't make it easy for anybody. I'm sorry. These are certain games that if you want people to associate your brand, especially if you're trying to sell a service like Game Pass, it makes sense to have these big bombastic titles that are associated with the platform that this service is available on. Because we know Game Pass isn't going to Nintendo and it's not going to PlayStation because they don't want it there because it's going to challenge their own service. It's not going to happen. So great points of contention and conversation stuff, Sean. We have here Michael Mooney drops an additional very generous £5 super chat, and he says, were some of the rumors actually traps placed by Microsoft HR trying to find leaks, but they got out of hand? I mean, it's possible. It's certainly possible, but I mean, that would be, man, those are extreme. That was extreme. I mean, a lot of people were real bent out of shape. People are still bent out of shape. I don't know. Could it have gotten out of control? That's a great point, Michael. Fantastic point. Web Dave is in here. Dave, congratulations on his new gig. He says, Fuzzy Boom Gamsley, great show. Everyone, please hit the like button. Let's go. Thank you, Dave, for being here, brother. Super appreciate it. We miss you already. We have here Andrew Cullion, who's been a channel member for 3 months. So, Andrew, thank you for the outstanding support. He says it takes work to put a game on another platform. I hope this doesn't take teams away from working on the next big thing or their own small projects. I mean, that's a freaking great point because, again, unless it was already made, you are technically, I mean, when they make these games, they're building one PC, right? They're building them for PC, they're building them for Xbox. If you add another platform or two to the conversation, the games are going to take longer for sure. That's a great point. El Monte drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, but why would people buy an Xbox if that's what they're going to do? People on other platforms are just going to wait like PC people do. I mean, it's look, I'm right there with you, El Monte. I think that, again, there are, if some games make sense. Your gas games, like again, I'm not an analyst, so I don't know. Have they hit their ceiling on console for Sea of Thieves and PC? You'd like to think not, if they consistently update it, right? And they're constantly bringing new people into the fray. Hi-Fi Rush. How many people on PlayStation are going to buy that game? I don't know. They like single player games, which is why I have a PlayStation 5. I like single player games. Does it make sense on Nintendo? Nintendo, I've heard this. It looks like a Nintendo game. It looks like a PlayStation game, but it doesn't look like an Xbox game. That to me is just confusing, but it's fine. For personal reasons, I don't like the Hi-Fi Rush one, and I'm going to tell you why. I've said this before, and I'll close this out and we'll get everyone out of here. The reason why I don't like the Hi-Fi Rush one is not because I want to be this ambassador for keeping games off other platforms. That's not the case. But because Chai and his cast of characters that are in that game, I find they're incredibly appealing and special. And I think that they can equate to other forms of media, that transmedia that we're always talking about, film, books, manga, anime, graphic novels, toys, throw your favorite piece in there. I just think that it has a chance if they would have really sold the game. And I love the shadow drop aspect of it, but we didn't see any real marketing on the back end of that. If this game would have been properly marketed, maybe we're not even having this conversation. I honestly don't know. But at the end of the day, folks, look, we have a date. It's going to be Wednesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, the Xbox podcast, which is obviously Microsoft run. We know that the three bigs, if you will, are going to be there: Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, and of course Matt Booty. I think that we're going to get the clarifications that we want. I agree with Gamsley. It seems to be in a better setting. It's a podcast setting where they're going to be asked the questions. I mean, come on, it's not going to be live like this show is. It's going to be pre-taped, but they're going to have the answers that we know that we as fans are looking for. But ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to over 1,000, actually closer to 1,100 people we had here. That is just crazy. So a big thank you for being here. If you're finding the channel for the first time, I ask humbly that you consider subscribing. I do this Monday through Friday. I don't miss a show normally. Obviously, there's a bit of a holiday this Wednesday, and I'd like to spend some time with Mrs. Boom, and obviously she'd like to spend time with me, and of course, giving everyone to kind of spend time with their loved ones. And then normally we don't miss a show, but we're not going to be doing a live show on Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. for primetime gaming. We're going to take the evening off. But if you find the channel and you like the conversation that we have, please just consider subscribing. We're on the hunt for 15K. Super appreciate that. Let's get everyone out of here. We'll start first with Fuzzy Belvedere. Brother, sell the brand. Your goal, or at least our goal here on this channel, is try to get your channel to 500 subscribers. And obviously, I say this all the time, folks, and I'm not BSing you. If you want great videos, if you want great conversation regarding the racing genre, well, there's no one better in the business than Fuzzy Belvedere. Tell them where they can subscribe, and more importantly, find you on social media.
Oh, just thank you so much for the kind words, Boom. Always a pleasure to be on here with you guys. Greatly appreciate everything you do for the community and the opportunity you provide to so many creators out there. It's definitely appreciated. Greatly appreciate everyone that checked us out today and interacted with us in the chat. Even if we agree to disagree, it was respectful and everything, you know, that you hear for the next few days until Xbox comes out Thursday. We'll just take it with a grain of salt. Let Xbox do all the talking come Thursday, and we can move forward from there. But outside of that, if you want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at Fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on YouTube. Just do a search for Fuzzy Belvedere. You'll find my channel doing a lot of racing and either Forza or GT7. Probably need to do some more of this Motorfest stuff. I kind of been holding off for a bit, but
it's fun, dude. I mean, again, it's not. Look, is it Horizon 5? It is not, but it's still fun. And if you pay for a subscription like I do for Ubisoft Plus, you should download it and at least give it the old college effort.
Yeah. No, but for those that want to see other places I'm at, just check out FSP on Fun Speculations channel later on tonight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. And then on Friday morning, look forward to seeing you guys here again in the chat at Double Barrel Gaming at 10 a.m. for Breakfast with Boom. Look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again.
Thank you so much. And Gamsley, you have been busy because you have teamed up with not only yourself, but Deadly Headley and Asa. You do a podcast. Well, I think it's a couple of podcasts a week, but your main one is a show that Asa, or Game on Asa, who launched. Why don't you tell us about that podcast, sell the brand, get more people to check you and the guys out, and more importantly, where can people find you on social media?
Yeah, before I do that, I have to shout out chat because they're saying 15th is a Thursday, and I don't know if I said Wednesday, but I just let the world burn. But yes, Thursday the 15th, by the way,
yes,
is when the show is there.
I kept saying, yeah,
conveniently-
that's my fault too, because Wednesday is Valentine's Day, and I don't know how I equated that. So yeah, again, thanks for the clarification. It is going to be this Thursday, not Wednesday, which of course is Valentine's Day. Good grief, that's my fault.
Exactly lands on our show, the Xbox Series podcast, live every Thursday at 3 p.m. EST. You could find that at Gaming Arcadia on YouTube. I'll send the link like right now in the channel. And you could find me every Monday right here at 12 p.m. EST every Monday.
Well, appreciate you being here. And obviously, check out his new show with
real. Oh, I'm not done. I'm not done yet.
Please,
just make sure you come listen to us talk on Thursdays because you could see Asa fail to say mocha. Just saying. If you like
poor
that,
Asa.
Yes. Come watch him struggle with English. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh man, that's funny. Well, I mean, listen, we love Asa. We love the work you guys doing over there. It seems like a fun show for sure. And listen, folks, again, this Thursday, 12 p.m. Pacific time. That is going to be 3 p.m. Eastern. It is the big explanation. Pardon that. That was outside. The truck was very loud for some reason. Listen, folks, again, thank you for tuning in. I'm happy that we're going to get some clarification. I know there's going to be some talk. Why wait to the end of the week? I think, Fuzzy, you said it perfectly. I hope you're not right about the bad news. Usually that's Friday, so people can stew on it on the weekend. I think that this is what we've been asking for, and all three of the bigs, if you will, are going to be there. to clarify exactly what this new business model looks like. And I really have to harken back to see that was Stuff Sean, who said Phil Spencer is going to be, well, again, his opinion would be strategy. Sarah Bond would be hardware, which we know she's in charge of, and Matt Booty would be the games. And I think that is just a brilliant point. I think that is really how it's going to go down. We'll know more on Thursday. I'm just glad that we have a date. We're not waiting in limbo to hear when the date is. We have the date. It is Thursday, and we'll know a lot about it, in a couple of days. So now we can all kind of just take a step back. I would caution everyone before we start listening to any rumors. Let's just all take a step back. Let the talking heads do what they're supposed to do. Talk, give us the update. And I guess until then, we can just speculate and talk about games, which is there's a lot to get into. That's going to do it for the Xbox Lunch Break Special. I'm your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And of course, for Fuzzy Belvedere and Gamsley, I want to say a big thank you for everyone that tuned in today. A big thank you to all of the super chats that continue to come in, as well as, of course, the channel memberships that allow for Mrs. Boom and I to do the big giveaways. We have quite a few of them coming this year. And we couldn't do that without both of the supports, both super chat and through channel memberships. And of course, I'm going to close out today's show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you folks. It's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, and he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son, I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.